Hi guys, Gareth here, and welcome to this Feeling Plunk production, and welcome to my review of the 1996 film Scream, released in 1996, directed by Wes Craven. Kind of did that redundantly. Anyway, we'll carry on with this review. As I've said in previous takes of this review, and maybe what just happened is a bit of a hint of that, I've got a bit of a headache, so I apologise for anything that I may get muddled up, and it's hurting quite a bit, to be honest. I have taken some aspirin, but it hasn't worked, so maybe I'll go and get some fresh air and grab some ibuprofen or some paracetamol shortly. Anyway, you don't want to know that, guys. You want to get on to the review of Scream. Now, with my last video, I told you the synopsis of the film and then went into my review of the film. I don't think I can do that with Scream. I've tried to record this 3 or 4 times now, and every single time I give you the synopsis, which is very short and succinct and very unflattering to the film, I think, and then I sort of try and tell you about the synopsis and the plot of the film without tipping my hat to what I think of the film. I can't do that. So I'm just going to explain the film, as I can, as I go along, and we'll go from there, shall we? So the film starts out with Drew Barrymore playing Casey Becker, and she's in the house on her own, about to make some popcorn, about to settle down and watch a movie. She gets a phone call from a mysterious caller. Picks up the phone. She first thinks it's a crank call. Turns out it's not a crank call. It's actually an individual who's a bit more sinister than the average crank call, shall we say. Not only does he turn out to be a bit sinister, but he turns out to be in the house with her. Not only that, but he's playing a game with her, a literal game with her. I do wonder if Saw took a lot of inspiration from Scream because of the whole "would you like to play a game" thing, and the fact that the Ghostface Killer, which I think he's later named in later films, does play, would you like to play a game as one of his catchphrases, and so is Jigsaw's catchphrase, would you like to play a game? So, connection there somewhere. Anyway, so not only is the killer quite sinister, he's there with her in the house. And one thing I think this film does beautifully that no other slasher/horror film does is actually makes you invested in the characters. Even in the short opening scene, where, of course, spoilers alert, Drew Barrymore ends up dead, we get to know Drew Barrymore. We get to be invested in her. There is actual character progression, which doesn't exist in other slasher/horror films. There's no character progression. There's no backstory. You don't get invested in the characters. So when they die, you don't give 2 shits. But whenever someone dies in Scream, you give 2 shits because the film gives you time to get invested in the character. The movie gives you time to know who that character is before they're just simply killed. And it's, very cleverly done. Anyway, I kind of spoiled the first part of the film, is Drew Barrymore gets killed, but it's a slasher film. Some people are going to get killed. We're then brought to a series of friends who are all connected, all have their own histories with each other, and the movie sort of follows that group of people. The Ghostface Killer is basically tormenting this group of individuals and is dispatching people one by one. One thing I will say about this film is that a lot of slasher films focus on the kills. This film, although the kills are there and they're fairly gratifying, it doesn't focus on them. They're not the focus of the film. They're sort of in the background. The other thing I love about this film is none of the people who are being offed by the Ghostface Killer are pansies. They know how to defend themselves. They can get out of tight situations, which again is a quite clear nod to the fact that in any other horror film, the victims sort of flay around and know what the hell they're doing. Yet in this film, they defend themselves. They knock out the killer. They do all sorts of things. The film is, of course, full of references, cliches, and breaks the fourth wall several times, but it doesn't do it in a cheesy way. It does it in a very self-referential, way. Wes Craven pokes the fun out of himself several times throughout the film. The film made me laugh out loud several times, not because it was so cheesy it was bad. It gave me genuine laughs throughout the film. There are a couple of references to previous Wes Craven productions and films. There are references to other horror films. The thing is seeped in cliches and, all that kind of stuff. The movie is extremely cleverly written. The dialogue is, I think, exceptional. It's acted extremely well by all of the stars involved. You've got Drew Barrymore, you've got Neve Campbell, obviously, you've got Courtney Cox, you've got David Arquette, you've got a bunch of actors and actresses in there that went on to do much bigger things. It is a film that, all I'm going to say right now is, why the hell haven't I seen this a lot sooner? The film does everything, I think, very cleverly and very well. There are red herrings in the film that are genuine red herrings. The movie keeps you guessing all the time who could be the actual killer. And the thing about what I like about Scream is that more than a slasher film, it's a whodunit mystery, a thriller, if you will. It sort of puts the slasher into the whodunit genre rather than what most horror movies do. And, they kind of tip their hat very, very soon who the killer is, because they don't have the directorial gonads or the production gonads. They don't have the talent to pull all this sort of stuff off. I did just look up the Wikipedia article on this film, because, of course, this was released in 1996. And again, the problem with watching Scream nowadays is so many things later on down the road harped on the Scream formula and adapted it, and it even got to the point where Scream 4 is self-referential to the original Scream films and stuff like that. But the film was excellent, in one simple words. I'm going to say right now, I'm going to give the film 5 out of 5. It was incredible. It kept me on my seat. It kept me entertained. The chase scenes were brilliantly done. The whole movie kept you guessing left, right and centre. I'm in two minds whether I should spoil the film or just leave my review like this and just say to you guys, go and watch it. I really am in two minds what to do, because I'm actually realising now that the movie does tip its hand very, very quickly in various situations. But I'm in two minds whether to do it. Obviously, if you don't know, the film is very much inspired by Dario Argento. Wes Craven was incredibly inspired by Dario Argento. If you don't know, Dario Argento is an Italian director who often has twists at the end of his film, and they're often quite poignant, and they're often quite thought-provoking. This film is, as I said, thought-provoking in a way. There are so many emotions in this film. It makes you sad, makes you happy, makes you laugh, makes you scared. The music in the film is done so incredibly well. There is a cover of Don't Fear the Reaper at one point during this film that just... it is so good. The other thing about this film is there are four people that know horror films like a T, and they use that throughout this film. As I said, Wes Craven pokes the fun and chill out of himself so many times. Young Rose McGowan is also in it that I didn't realise. There are actually some actors that I didn't realise that were in it until I looked up. It's just... it really is incredible, and I'm kicking myself why I haven't watched this film sooner. Literally, when I got to the end of the film, I wanted to put the DVD back on and rewatch it again. It was that good. I've watched enough horror films now. I've watched, 5 of the Friday the 13th. I've watched, the 2 Halloween films. I know enough. I've watched enough horror films now to know the cliches and know the references they were making in the films. There were a lot of references to Meg Ryan, which I'm not sure whether that was, of course, a nod to the fact maybe Meg Ryan was going to be a part of the film at some point. And also Courtney Cox and David Arquette are, of course, in the film. They end up being a love interest, if you don't know, but Courtney Cox and David Arquette end up marrying years later. There are a lot of things in the film that are meta. There's a lot of hints they make to other things. A lot of the references I probably don't get, and there are some, as I sort of hinted at, some behind-the-scenes references to the likes of that. I don't know if Meg Ryan was going to be a part of the film at some point, and there were some other subtle hints here and there about the production of the film in the film itself, which is it does the whole fourth wall breaking stuff. It does the whole self-referential stuff extremely well, and I now know why so many people have told me to watch Scream. My mum has told me. I've got a colleague at work that's told me. Luke has told me several times. So many people have told me that I would enjoy this film, and all I can really say is I can apologise to them for not having seen the film any sooner than now. Yeah, I mean the film. I mean, obviously the film has its flaws. It's not a perfect film, but it's incredibly entertaining. It's a blending of genres. It's action, it's comedy, it's a romance in some respects. It's a betrayal film of some respects. It's a whodunit. It's a thriller. The film is just, I don't know how they pulled it off. As the Wikipedia article said, it rejuvenised the horror genre back in 1996 and put it back on the map, and I can see why he put it back on the map. It's just incredibly well written, incredibly well edited, if I haven't said that in this review. The twist at the end, because you do find out who Ghostface is, I didn't see coming. It's, as I said, it's hinted at throughout the film, but I didn't see it coming until it actually happened, so to speak. And just incredible. That's all I've got to say. Was it was extremely well done, and it's definitely already in my top, one of my top films of all time. I'm laughing and giggling because I don't know why it's taken me so long to watch this film. I could gush about this film for the next half an hour, but you guys probably need to get back to whatever you want to do. So as always, guys, if you could for me, leave a like or a dislike on this video, depending on your feelings. If they're more complicated, then please leave a comment down below. As I like to say, YouTube is a social media platform. Let's make it social. Let's take it back from the trolls. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. It's big, it's red, it's free. Do it. If you want to stay up to date with what I do, then please hit the bell icon. Make sure the quotations are around it, and you receive a notification to your device of choice every time I upload a video. And until next time, guys, please take care. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day. Ta-ra.